Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Last week we spoke on a sutta known as Ratha Vinita Sutta. It is one of the most important discourses of the Buddha dealing with purification, spiritual purification, at 7 distinct stages leading to enlightenment. A broad outline was narrated last time, but today I will take up a specific section of the sutta dealing with what exactly is truth and who is the embodiment of truth and why so. Now, the Buddhas are known as Tathagatas. Tathagata simply means Yatha Vadi Tathakari, Yathakari Tathavadi. That is one meaning. The other meaning is Yatha Sabbe Buddha Agata Tatha Idhapi Eso Buddho Agato. That is, now, one who speaks exactly as he does and who does exactly as he speaks. In other words, a perfect harmonization of conduct, harmonization of one's thought, action and speech. And that is fully achieved when the 7 stages of purification are fully accomplished. Now, Ratha Vinita Sutta deals with that. The Buddhas are called Tathagatas not only because they are supremely enlightened ones, meaning that they know everything of the past and the present and future. They are the Sarvajna, all-knowing ones. But they are embodiment of truth. Now, to be an embodiment of truth is a very high, it simply means one who has reached the very highest state of perfection. The very highest stage of purification, and thus becomes the embodiment of truth. So truth, perfection and purification or purity and beauty, these are attributes, these are synonymous attributes. They have the same meaning. In other words, truth is known by various terms like purity or perfection or beauty, ultimate purity, ultimate beauty, ultimate perfection. Not just conceptual ones as it is understood in the world. So now, to be a Tathagata, one follows the previous Tathagatas. The previous Buddhas in the case of our Buddha, the Buddha Gautama, now he met the Buddha Dipankara and took up the mission of compassion of a Buddha. He fulfilled 30 paramis, spiritual perfections, and thereby he achieved the 7 stages of purification and attained to the very acme of truth. Therefore he became the embodiment of truth. Dhammapada talks about truth and reality. Reality is another word of truth, that which really exists, that which does not merely appear to exist, but it is really so. Yatha bhutang, that which truly exists, that is reality. So one attribute of truth is reality, just as purification and perfection are. An example is given by means of a flower. Now the Buddhas are worshipped by flowers. Why? There is very great symbolical meaning in this. A flower has reached the very end of its perfection. There is nothing more to add. Perfection means something in which you have nothing to add. So the flower symbolizes perfection, because you can't add any more into the flower to make it more beautiful, more fragrant, and so on. It has reached the very acme of its perfection, development, and beauty. Similarly, when a being, having undergone lives after lives, hundreds and thousands of lives of spiritual evolution, perfecting the 30 paramis, the 10 3 times over, and the 7 stages of purification, that being becomes the very embodiment of truth, and that is what exactly Tathagatas are. They follow the path of the previous Buddhas and bring the light of truth into the world to liberate beings from the bondage in worldly existence. So, a Tathagata, being the embodiment and of truth, acts, speaks, and thinks exactly in the same way. There is a great harmony between all the 3 modes of conduct. And this happens because they have brought about what is called a total equalization of spiritual faculties. The Indriya Samatha Prapta, one who has achieved and accomplished absolute harmonization of the conduct because of spiritual, the equalization of the spiritual faculties. What are these spiritual faculties? They are 5 in number, and they have to be perfectly balanced before one can achieve spiritual perfection, and before one can achieve this perfect harmony in one's conduct. So the Tathagata's life are such that it shows whoever visits a Tathagata or sees or has the great privilege and good luck to meet a Buddha or a Tathagata, the first thing that occurs to the person is the perfect harmony in all that the Tathagata says, does, or thinks. And it manifests in everything. Everything is harmony, harmony, harmony. And those who are in the presence of a Buddha also achieves that kind of harmony, at least for that time. So to be in the presence of Buddha itself is so enlightening and so peaceful an experience indeed. So people went to have a darshan of the Buddha in thousands and throughout the day, exactly because they felt a presence which brought about great harmony in their lives, great peace, and a kind of relief from the turmoil of existence. So now Tathagatas achieve this harmony which is manifested in everything that they do or say and think, and in their teachings. So those who follow the Tathagatas, the Tathagata becomes the model the role model to follow. So they also achieve that kind of harmony of conduct and spiritual equalization. The 5 faculties I was talking about are these. Saddha, meaning wisdom-rooted faith, not just blind faith. It's a faith that brings about conviction based on actual direct experience of reality. You are convinced because you have experienced the reality of what you are convinced. Now, this kind of faith is the very essence of spiritual, is the very first thing a spiritual seeker must develop. So, faith by itself is not enough. It can degenerate into blind faith, into fanaticism, into fixity of belief, and all kinds of things that you see in the world today in the name of religion. It happens because of a blind adherence to belief patterns, to all kinds of beliefs and views and opinions, religious views, religious opinions. So once that happens, that kind of blind faith, the mind is, it is a kind of mental fixation which leads a person nowhere. Or it's only acquiring more and more unwholesome karma and pay for that karma by way of being reborn in planes of existence where there is suffering. So mere Shraddha, blind faith, is not enough unless it is rooted in wisdom. So the balancing spiritual faculty for Shraddha is Panya, or wisdom. I am using the word, the terms in Pali in which the Buddha spoke. Buddha did not use any other language but Pali, which was the lingua franca of India at that time. People spoke that language, they wrote, they thought, everything was in that language. It was a perfectly literary, mode of communication. So now, Panya, the word Sanskrit word prajna, has a different meaning. Even the Sanskrit word Shraddha has slightly different meaning. Here, in the case of Pali, Shraddha is conviction, which brings about a kind of confidence within oneself that one is absolutely sure and no doubt about what you see, on what you place your faith. If you place your faith on Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, it simply means your confidence is absolutely total because you are convinced of their greatness and of the capacity of the triple gem to lead you to Nibbana, to liberation, freedom from worldly existence. So now, Shraddha and Panya. Panya is penetrative wisdom, direct experience and knowledge and vision of Nibbana. Nibbana is the state of enlightenment. What we call enlightenment is nothing but a self-discovery of Nibbana. Every person has to discover for himself and herself the state of ultimate liberation or deliverance called Nibbana. Nobody can deliver us. We have to realize that deliverance ourselves. Others can show us the path. The Buddhas show us the path in the very best manner and lead us onto the path as well. by their example and by their sheer spiritual excellence and boundless compassion. The Buddha is not there in the physical body, but is very much there in his spiritual body. Dhammakaya it is called. So Buddha's Dhammakaya is very present indeed, and the presence of the Buddha in Dhammakaya form is embedded in the hearts of all those who seek Nibbana or enlightenment, who follow the Buddha out of faith which is rooted in Panya, in wisdom. So, balancing these two faculties is the purpose of spiritual effort and spiritual perfection. You undertake these 10 paramis or perfections. Buddhas have perfected it 3 times over, but others do it just once or twice. So in the case of supremely enlightened Buddha, it is 3 times over, so it becomes 30 paramis that way. So no, these paramis or perfections are nothing but, you see, when you reach this state of harmony and balance with reference to your spiritual faculties, reflected in your conduct. Once your spiritual faculties are balanced, your conduct becomes perfectly harmonized. What you say and what you do and what you think, all the 3 are in perfect harmony. There is no discrepancy between these 3 modes of conduct. There are also modes of action, karma. So Buddhas are embodiment of this harmony, and that is why they are called the embodiment of truth. Truth is what? Truth is that which is real. What is reality? That which has reached its very height of purification. A thing that is pure, you can't add anything there. In a pure thing there is nothing to add or extract, take away. It is so pure that there is nothing to be taken away or extracted. And that pure thing is also perfect because you can't add anything into it. Just as the beauty, it's perfect, it is pure, therefore it is beautiful, and it is real. So these are attributes of truth, you see, and truth is symbolized by, let's say, here we use the simile of flower because it expresses the nature of truth quite adequately. So now, truth, reality, purity, perfection, these are synonymous. So in Dhammapada it is said, who are those who arrive at truth or reality? It is said, asare saramatino, sare cha saradasino, te sarang nadhigachanti, michha sankappa gochara. Those who mistake the truth or reality to be falsehood or unreal, and the reality and the unreal to be so, that is unreal to be real and real to be unreal. Those who mistake this kind of thing, topsy-turvy way of seeing it, dwelling in wrong thoughts. They do that because they are thinking in a perverted way, in a distorted way, in a wrong way, which they themselves can't discover. Because the mind is so covered and enveloped by delusion that when you are talking of truth, you are actually talking of untruth. You are talking of reality, you are actually talking of unreality. This kind of perverted or distorted notions come from wrong thinking. So dwelling in wrong thoughts, they never arrive at the truth or at the essential or the reality. Per contra, sarancha sarato nyatva asarancha asarato te saram adhigachanti samma sankappa gocharam. Those who know the truth or reality to be truth or reality, and the falsehood or untruth or unreality to be unreality and untruth, dwelling in right thoughts, do arrive at the reality or truth. Buddhas, from the time they undertake their spiritual mission, they live in the world of truth. Moment to moment, they are dealing with reality, not with concept, not with all kinds of belief systems, but with reality alone. So, the Tathagata, the embodiment of truth and reality, is also the perfect one where you can't add any more. Having reached the very summit state of spiritual perfection, he is the embodiment of perfection, the perfect one. And therefore, the most pure holy being that you can think of, the pure one, the truly holy one. And that, why it is pure? Because he has fulfilled and accomplished all the 7 stages of spiritual purification. I will briefly mention about the spiritual perfections. There are these 7 stages, and in the Ratha Vinita Sutta, about which last week we started this series. Now, there are these 7 stages of purification. The first is called Sila Visuddhi, the purification of morality or virtuous conduct. The second is called Chitta Visuddhi, or purification of the mind as such, with all its mental concomitants and so on. Then the third is purification of view, right view. That means purification of understanding. Understanding is the core element of spiritual development. So purification of understanding or right view about things is the third stage of purification. The fourth is called purification by overcoming doubt. That is Kankha Vitarana Vishuddhi. First is Shila Vishuddhi, then Chitta Vishuddhi, then Kankha Ditti Vishuddhi, then Kankha Vitarana Vishuddhi. The purification by overcoming doubt. Doubt about reality, doubt about truth, purity and perfection. Then the fifth one is purification by knowledge and vision of what is the right path and what is the wrong path. That is a perfect discrimination and perfect judgment about the right and the wrong. Now, this knowledge and vision leads to purification, inner spiritual purification. So this fifth stage of purification concerns with that. The sixth is purification by knowledge and vision of the course of spiritual practice. Patipada jnana darsana vishuddhi. The last one is purification by knowledge and vision of the ultimate reality. So these seven stages lead automatically to Nibbana, to enlightenment, and this has to be achieved by everyone whosoever seeks to be liberated from worldly existence. There is no other goal other than these stages. Now, this sutta describes the nature, and actually the book Vishuddhi Magga, the path of purification, a monumental work by Acharya Buddharakkhita. And I am sure many of you have seen it and you have known it. It's not a very easy reading book. It has been translated by my Guru brother, the Venerable Jnanamoli, and very well translated indeed. And I wish some of you try to go through that. Now this book, the framework of this monumental work is Sattva Visuddhi, the 7 stages of spiritual purification. Now, this discussion there, part of the sutta I said I am going to discuss today. Now the part, last time we mentioned about Sakya bhikkhus. Now this, in the context of how Buddha visited Rajagaha, the capital city of Magadha, the empire of Magadha. Visited before he became a Buddha and after he became a Buddha. Now, he was a Bodhisattva before he became a Buddha. He had left his kingdom. He had made his historic renunciation of everything that leads to worldly existence. He saw through the suffering that is embedded in worldly existence in 1,000 different ways. He saw that the fact that we are born in a state of existence. You can't be in existence unless you are born. So, the fact that we are born automatically, puts us into the path of death. There will be no death. There will be no aging. There will be no disease. There will be no disappointments and frustrations in life. There will be no pain and no pleasure if there is no birth. So what is that state of absolute perfection and purity? When you reach there, there is no birth, therefore no death, therefore no aging and no disease, no suffering in any form. That is the goal of Buddhist life. Nibbana, variously termed of ultimate reality. So, the Buddha saw through that so long one is a captive, a victim of this worldly, the process of worldly existence, life after life. You are born, then you die, you are again reborn, then you die. Endless and aimless journey through a wilderness of samsara. So he decided to give up everything and search for the ultimate reality, reaching which you don't have to go through this wheel of life, wheel of worldly imperfect existence. So, after leaving his kingdom and his family, household life and everything, he was moving about from place to place, and he happened to pass through Rajagaha. There the king Bimbisara had met him when he was living in a cave. The people they were so struck by the sheer beauty and personality and the great eminent future of the master, of the Bodhisattva, that they all went to see him. So King Bimbisara similarly went to see him, and a lot of discussions took place, and he was so impressed he even offered half of his kingdom and the hand of his daughter. But Bodhisattva said, no, I have no need for all that. I am seeking freedom from all such encumbrances. These are all encumbrances. These are all bandhana, bondage, into which people fall and they don't know that they are in a state of bondage. They actually love to be bound. That is the dilemma of the worldly existence. It's like the drunkard who knows that drinking is no good, yet he keeps on drinking. He is addicted. He suffers loss. He loses everything that he has got, yet he has the thirst and the tremendous craving for alcohol. This is what addiction does. And worldly existence is nothing but a similar process. Addiction to worldly existence, addiction to the pleasures and glory and all the thing of the worldly existence. Addiction to that. Nasha ho jata hai, you get addicted in the worldly existence. So Buddha saw through all that, and he was seeking the ultimate reality and truth and perfection. To be born and again and die again and again surely is not perfection, it's imperfection. It's an unstable existence. So, he met the king. The king offered, and he said no. Then king was so impressed, he requested him to come back and teach the Dhamma when he becomes an enlightened one, and that is how he went there. In the last discourse I mentioned about all that, how he came to Rajagaha and then in the course of 3 months, already 20,000 arhats. The Buddha brought about liberation in 20,000 perfected beings, out of which 10,000 were from Magadha, Anga and Vanga, and 10,000 from Kapilavattu, from Sakyan kingdom. The king had sent 10 missions of 1,000 men headed by a minister, one after another, request the Buddha to come back to his native land and teach the Dhamma. But as soon as they became liberated and enlightened, he became Arhat, they forgot all about it, or rather they were indifferent to all about it, and they were completely immersed in, in the bliss of emancipation. Nothing else mattered there. So, now today I want to tell something about, I will continue with this. So the Buddha was seated there in his kuti. Then somebody came and said, well, lots of monks, hundreds and hundreds of monks from his native land has come to Rajagaha, the Veluvana, the bamboo grove where he was staying, which the king donated. So Buddha said, all right, be here. This is a spiritual, this monastery is something like sanctuary for all spiritual seekers. So they were there. So one day, when all the monks are, some hundreds and thousands of them, so he asked all these Kapilavattu or other Sakyan monks, almost all of them were arhats, some were not. So he said, well, monks, can you tell me the name of one monk who embodies this, this attribute of total harmony of conduct based upon equalization of spiritual faculties. I will repeat the spiritual faculty equalization once again. I am only mentioning about the balancing of Panya and Saddha. There are two more faculties. One is Virya, which means spiritual effort, being energetic in all your spiritual pursuit. And the other is Samadhi, that is the attainment of the supra-mental state of absorption, the supermundane, supernormal stages of absorptions. So, Panya it tends to make a person overactive and over busy and all that sort of thing. If it is just developed by itself. So you see a lot of energetic people and very busy people. Throughout all the time they are busy, and busy for what they don't know. They think that to be busy by itself is the end of life. The entire Western world is caught up in that net and cannot get out of that. And in India we are getting into that thing now. We are copying the West fully. Now, the other side, the so-called yogi or meditator, he has got into another rut, so-called meditative tranquility and peace, born of samadhi. The supermundane's, rather supernormal state of ecstatic absorption. So they become so fond of their tranquility and peace and whatnot, they become introverted, completely cut off from the world. They don't care about the suffering of others. They are all concerned about their own so-called peace and their own happiness. Again get caught into the rut of egotism. Just as the over-busy one, he is busy in changing the world and serving the world, but never himself serving or changing himself. He is another extrovert, concerned with the world and never with himself, and get caught in a net of overactivity and never gain any peace whatsoever. So when these qualities of virya and samadhi are harmonized perfectly and equalized, then there becomes spiritual balance. And in the middle you have this mindfulness. So these five, saddha, virya. Virya is energy, and sati, which means mindfulness. Samadhi is tranquility born of absorption, and panya, the penetrative wisdom. So all these five faculties are to be equally equalized, and thus brought about a harmony, a spiritual harmony, you see, which makes a person truly holy, peaceful, and whose presence itself brings holiness and peace in people. So the Buddha was an embodiment of all that. So he asked these monks, well, monk, tell me the name of one monk who really embodies this quality of perfect harmony of conduct and spiritual equalization of faculties. So the monks, he said, yes, sir, yes, Venerable Sir, we have such a person whom the whole country reveres greatly. And then the Buddha, while putting the question, he said, let me make it very clear what I mean by this. He said, Attanava apicho apichataya kathenti. Being himself a person of very few wish. He's a wishless person, so to say. And he talks only of fewness of wants and fewness of ownership and fewness of things. Then atanava pavivito pavivekaya. Being himself, you see, a person who loves to remain in seclusion, in peace, only talks about seclusion and peace. What he himself lives, about that only he talks. That is, yathavadi tathakari. Yathakari tathavadi. He himself being uninvolved into the mess of the world and talks only of freedom from world. He himself being a very, very energetic person spiritually, talks only about the need for spiritual energization of life. Being himself Sila Sampanno, a very virtuous person, talks about appraises about the virtues of morality and so on. Samadhi Sampanna, himself being a meditator par excellence, talks about the virtue of meditation. Himself being the very embodiment of wisdom, talks about how wisdom should be developed, etc. Himself being liberated, vimukta, he only talks about how to achieve liberation from dukkha, from universal suffering. And he not only is liberated, he is one who has that direct knowledge and vision, supramundane direct knowledge and vision of the state of enlightenment and freedom. And he expresses that through his life. He demonstrates through his life his state of freedom, knowledge and wisdom. So, and he said, this type of monk I am talking about. And they said, yes, who is that? They said, Punno Mantani Putta, the most venerable Arahat, enlightened disciple, Purna. Punna means Purna, one who has achieved the fullness of everything. Purna Mantani Putra, the son of the Brahmin lady Mantani. So, that is how then the Buddha praised him greatly. Venerable Sariputta was very much taken up when he heard about this Buddha praising Purna. And so, Venerable Sariputta went about, wherever he went, he kept on praising about the Venerable Mantaniputta, saying, oh, what a great blessing, what a great, is a good luck to be so praised by the Buddha for being the embodiment of these wonderful qualities. So this is one aspect that I wanted to discuss about this sutta. There are many aspects, and next time I will take up the other aspects. So with this we conclude. May the grace of Lord Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and well-being. May you all enjoy spiritual equalization and harmony of conduct. May you all be happy.